So we're back with a recap of episode 10, Full Circle, from Lovecraft. Last episode, season finale, and I've got questions.
I was expecting more.
Ugh, I know.
Still enjoyed it, but I was just thinking it would be more.
It was a slight letdown, though. It was, yeah. I mean, given their last 9 episodes, they were very climactic.
This one was kind of like,
yeah. And like I said, I have questions.
I was expecting more from some of the characters.
Same.
Especially Hippolyta.
Right.
Because I was thinking like, I thought something was altered in her, and I was just ready for her to.
She was still rocking her blue hair, but
she was, but I was expecting her to be like more,
powerful, badass.
Right. Get it? I mean, she still was, but I was just expecting it to be
it was a little tamed.
Bigger. Anyway, let me start with I'm not gonna really do like a blow by blow recap of it, but just a little bit of what took place. And this was another thing that kind of threw me, because last week's episode it ended with the police officers shooting up Letty's house, and then Atticus's Shagroff. I guess if I'm saying that wrong, correct me, but I think that's how it's pronounced. His little pet. His protector. It's his creep. You've seen these things in the other episodes, but this one is his, and you can't tell it's different from the other ones as well, because this one, I didn't notice this at first.
I didn't, but
this one is actually the color of it is black, and the other ones were like more brown in color. So this one's actually darker than the other one, so that you can tell the difference between which one's his and which ones are the other ones. I didn't notice that until he was actually on screen with the other ones, and I was like,
I didn't notice that until you pointed it out.
I didn't notice until they were on screen together. But anyway, sorry, I'm just going off because they didn't pick up at that point. So I was just kind of curious as to what happened to all the cops that were killed, because we saw all these cops get killed in front of Letty's house, and I'm like, what they do with the squad cars and the bodies?
Well, did they hide them?
And I'm sure they're like the only black people in this neighborhood, so you gonna tell me a nosy neighbor didn't look out and see all the cops being
Is it just supposed to be left to our imagination?
I don't know. I mean, and I was just saying to you, okay, it would make more sense if the cops came in the house and maybe they were murdered in the house, because we know she has somewhere to hide them in the house.
Outside, though.
They'll just take the elevator down to the hollow earth and leave them down there. But they were outside, and it was loud and gunfire.
The Shagroff was really loud.
Well, just them opening fire on her house.
Nobody was like.
But then I was like, I don't know if we missed something. I need to rewatch it, because did it appear that any type of spell was done on her house, or to get rid of?
Not that I recall.
I don't recall.
I think we totally just bypassed that scene.
Yeah, and I just watched this episode once, so maybe I need to watch it again.
I did too.
See if it has a hint of something being done to explain.
I'm pretty sure there wasn't. I think it just, because it ended with Tig touching the Shagroff, and that was about it.
Yeah. So because where this episode actually picks up is our main characters. So of course it's Hippolyta.
Letty.
I guess that's how you say Hippolyta. Yeah. Letty and let's see, Montrose and Atticus all have the book of names now, and they're trying to use that to take the curse off of Dee, because Dee still has the curse on her and she's still gonna die, so they have to figure out a way to save her life. So we know that Letty actually retrieved the book from the previous episode where they went back in time from Nana, and they went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was in 1921, and Nana gave her the book and the little password, I guess you can call it, spell. It's the password, the spell.
It's the password.
It's the password. It's the
in modern times we call it the password.
It's the password to get the book to open, and
your Face ID.
And so Atticus actually, he recites the spell that's on, and then the book opens. It just flies open, and the page it opens to actually has a symbol, and it's the same symbol that matches the mark that's on him. So it's their I guess
their family
mark
or whatever.
And then him and then Atticus and Letty actually pass out, just on the floor. I know. And then they're taken to this ancestral plane. I got that from Black Panther, or realm.
It's basically the same
thing. Anyway, so they're with Atticus's ancestor. So it's Hannah is the first person that Atticus runs into, and she explains to him that she did place a mark up on herself, and she shows it to him. She also has a mark. It's not the mark of Cain that Letty has.
I thought it was
it's,
the first.
Yeah, it's like a protection, she said, to protect her children from, I guess, being detected from those who use magic. And it's for generations to come too. So it was like, I think she put it on herself, and then I think generations down the line. And then she explains to him that the burning house that they're in is, it was a place that she manifested from her rage, and I guess she said it in a safe place for her and her ancestors to, I guess, to be in. Yeah, because then she shows him that the fire, like, she can control the fire and it doesn't burn, and so, like, she has control over this place that she has created, I guess, out of her anger. Yep. And I guess using a spell. And then the next thing we know is what we see Letty, and Letty is actually talking to Nana, and we know that's who she got the book from. And as we've been saying before, that Letty's dreams and stuff like that, and her being able to see Atticus's family is connected because of course she's carrying his child. And Nana tells her that it's the child that actually brought her to where she is. Yep. That connects you to her ability to be able to, I guess, speak with him. And so they talk, and then the next person that we see Atticus run into is his mother, Dora.
That's actually a sweet reunion.
It was really sweet, and I actually kind of felt sorry for Atticus
so sad.
too, because
it was sad.
He tells her, basically he doesn't want to die, but he pretty much kind of knows it's coming. And
his mom's like, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Like, it's I guess, in so many words, if it's your destiny, and death is nothing to be feared. Yeah. And, and it's really sad because he lays his head on his mom's lap. I know. And
he basically says he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to die, but then that's when the mom says, like, well, there might be a way, but if this is your future, then you have to go with it.
Towards your future.
And did she say something along the lines of, if it's what saves your loved ones?
I don't remember word for word what she said, but she may have said that if you have to do something.
I can't quite remember.
What we see is that there's a lot of people who have done things in this episode, like sacrifice themselves or something to protect generations down the line. Like, if you notice, Nana had no problem, like, she didn't want to, but she did it because she knew that it was going to protect the child that Letty was carrying. So you've got a lot of, like, ancestors doing things that are not going to be manifested until way down the line, like maybe even hundreds of years, but they're looking well into the future and saying, if I have to sacrifice myself, I will. And it's actually something that you see if you look at the past, like all the people who come before us that were willing to sacrifice themselves, like Dr. Martin Luther King, he saw himself possibly being killed, and he was
he was willing to do it.
And he said, I may not see the promised land, but my children might. So he was sacrificing, or willing to sacrifice himself for generations down the line.
And I think that's what Tick is willing to do too, like to sacrifice his life for the future of his child.
Right.
So
that's what Dora, like, his mother is actually kind of explaining to him too, like, if you have to do it, you have to do it. But death is really kind of like nothing to be afraid of. So we get that part. And then the next thing we know, after they've done this and they all kind of gather, and they're gathering around, because they're in the same room, but they're in, like, a different, how do you explain this? Spiritual realm, maybe? Yeah. Because the bed is there, but they just don't see her. But they're circling. The room is the same, but it's just like, it's in a different realm, I guess you could say. Yeah. And then they start to chant this spell to remove the Lancaster spell, the spell that Lancaster has on Dee. And it works. The spell does come off of her, except for it does not heal her.
Doesn't save her arm.
It doesn't save her arm, which was bitten by one of the
twin girls.
One of the twin girls, yes, that were the demonic twin girls that were, like, coming after her from the spell in the last episode. So her arm is messed up. Everything else is healed, but her arm does not recover from that. Nope. And the next thing we see after that, where am I going from there?
I know, I'm trying to think. I'm like, I only saw this episode once, so I'm like...
I know, I only saw it once too, so I'm trying to follow.
Trying to think, Like, we're trying to go in some kind of order.
I may get off order here, but I think the next thing that happens is that we see that... is it... Letty meets up with Ruby in the cemetery.
Yes.
I think that happens next.
Yep, that's what happens next.
Yeah, that is what happens next. So they find out that they can bind Christina if they can get a piece of her plus Titus So we know Titus is the slave owner who impregnated Hannah. And the piece of Titus, a piece of Christina, and of course Atticus's blood.
The 3 of them.
The 3 of them have to be connected in order for them to do, I guess, like some type of binding spell to bind Christina from using magic.
Yep.
And so they know the only person that could possibly get close enough to Christina to get that is Ruby. So of course Letty contacts her sister Ruby, and they meet at the cemetery, and she's talking about family and being there for your family and yada yada yada. And then Ruby pretty much kind of tells Letty that you don't call me until you want something.
Right, you only come to me when you want something.
Yeah, when you want something, and it's always the same thing. And in a way, she's not wrong. It's kind of true, you know.
Like, she's not.
And I think even in that moment, Letty thinks about it, like, you know what?
You're right.
I think you might be right.
Well, and she even tells, because I think Ruby was mad at her for not coming home for her, was it her mom's funeral or one of her parents' funeral? And she's like, I didn't come home because I was in jail.
Yeah.
So that's when Ruby gets a little...
I know, Ruby's like, what?
What? So that's when Ruby's like, you only come and contact me when you need something, and this isn't any different. And she storms away. Yeah.
And then after that, what we get is... So that interaction takes place. I can't keep this in any type of order. Okay, so that takes place. Oh, then I might be skipping. I'm just gonna skip because I don't know what's the filler in the middle. But the next thing we know is that they're doing a ritual, and this is Atticus and Letty, and they go down to the bottom of her house, of course, and then they're using the tunnels in the bottom, I guess, and they do this ritual, and they bring back Titus. Because, of course, they have to have a piece of his body.
Yep.
And Titus actually appears.
Oh, God, this was kind of comical.
It was because I'm thinking, where are they at in death? Because I'm like, where has he been the whole time when he was dead? I'm like, have you been in Hades? Has he been in hell? Because I was like, the first thing that came out of his mouth was just like what are you N-words doing with this book?
Yeah,
I don't know that would be the first thing I would say.
The first thing I'd say is, where am I? What am I? What have I done? Yeah, not, why do you guys, why do you...
And they have a circle, and it's supposed to kind of, keep him in that circle, but I guess he's, kind of powerful, and he was able to actually leave that circle, which this part wasn't explained either, why he actually ended up in the middle of the street where Christina and Ruby were. Of all the places, how did he just magically
and like you said, how did Christina know right away that was him? Because we were joking around, if I lived in the 1800s and you saw me in an oil painting, you wouldn't be like, hey, that's you.
So I was just I don't know how he thought to just
be right in the middle
of the road and almost caused them, he did cause them to have a car accident because they spin around him, and then Christina goes flying through the windshield. But I was just and then they call in the ancestors because I guess they realize they're not powerful enough to keep him, so they call in Hannah, Dora and Nana, and they chant with him, and then it pulls him back to the circle where he originally was. And then that's when we see, it's a circle of I don't know, salt or something. They always use salt, sand. And it pulls him back to that spot. And that's when Atticus has the ability to cut off a center of his chest, the piece that he needs, because that's a piece of Titus. And then, of course, he goes back to hell or wherever
he came from.
Hell or wherever it is they summoned him from, and they also kind of say a chant, and it sends off Hannah, Dora, and Nana. Yeah, and that's kind of sad too because they're saying goodbye again.
I know.
I'm bye-bye.
Bye, we can't keep you. So
bye-bye. Yeah, so then they leave. Oh, but what happened though when Titus did teleport or whatever he did to the middle of the street, I don't know. He actually, Christina, when she gets out of the car, she goes, Titus. And he tells her those N-words have the
book.
The book.
I'm like, what?
I'm like... Okay,
that's
so she knows.
Yeah.
So she knows that Atticus and them have the book of names, and so then she shows up at the shop they're at, and they're trying to figure out a spell, something I guess that will save Atticus so that he doesn't have to do the ritual. She shows up. Letty hides the book, and she pretty much tells them, if you give me the book, I will try my best to figure out a way to do my spell without it involving taking your life.
Yep.
And I have a feeling she would have kept her word because so far I have not
You
seen
did
Christina.
point that out. Like,
yeah, like usually when she promises to do something and she gives her word, she does
keeps
do it.
Yeah.
But I can understand them not wanting her to have the book because there's more spells in there than just
that you don't want her to
spell.
have.
And it would be giving her way too much power.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they didn't want to give it to her. But I do believe that she would not have killed Atticus because so far she's
kept her word. I mean, when they
she's
asked her to help Dee, she came and helped Dee. Now, she always wants something in return.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, she does it.
Yeah, she does.
So, she just needs a price. There's a price for it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, you pointed that out. I'm like, she does.
Yeah, she does keep her word. But they don't give it to her, of course. And she takes the protection spell off that Mark of Cain thing that she has on Letty. She removes that from her and then she walks out the door. So she's unprotected now.
She's no longer invincible.
She's no longer invincible. And after that, what we see is that she does meet up with Ruby. And then Ruby kind of gives herself away because Christina has like this little valve of like her blood, and then she figures, oh, I could just kind of like snatch one of those, and Christina kind of catches her eye, like what she's looking at, and I think she kind of knows.
She kind of put two and two together, like, you're here.
But it was at this point that I was like I didn't know if Ruby really was going to help or not.
Same.
I really don't know, because you can kind of tell that Ruby does have feelings for Christina. And I think Christina does have feelings for Ruby because when that car accident happened and Christina went flying out the window, she actually was concerned about Ruby. She, she went running back to the car like, Ruby,
Yeah, so she did care,
Yeah, she did care if Ruby was hurt or not. And then, so like I said, you really don't know if she plans on helping her or not, but you know that
she was going to help Christina and not her,
Well, you didn't know at this point if she was or not. She just looks at like I said, the little
I was like, oh,
thing
no.
filled with blood, and she doesn't know. So the next thing we see is that they're going on a trip. They're headed back to Ard. I had to scratch my back out.
This was a funny scene too, though.
What's that? Oh, in the car when they're singing. Oh, yeah, that was really. You know what was the funny person was actually when Atticus starts singing on
deep his voice,
and then Montrose out of nowhere.
Montrose is like,
he's so serious, and then he just like joins in.
He's just like, da, da, da. But he still like has this look like, I don't want to sing.
Yeah. Oh, I did skip something before this that Atticus does go and see Gia. And he does apologize because if you remember last episode, he was a little bit,
a little harsh
with her. So he does tell her, that he apologizes and he realizes that they have a connection.
They'll always be family.
And they'll always be family. So he
friend zoned her.
He family zoned her. Yeah.
Basically, like, it was good what we had, but I love this. I love Letty now.
Yeah, but I mean, he's still probably like, I care for you too, just not like that.
Yeah, but you could tell Gia was kind of like, oh man.
Yeah, just not like that. But I think she's okay with it.
I mean, she has to accept it. I mean,
right.
It's been years. Mm-hmm. So.
And we find out that her mother has passed away.
Oh yeah, that was sad.
Yep, her mother is deceased.
I know,
deceased. But yeah, so that was before the car ride. So I did miss that. So I just wanted to throw that in there because Gia does go on the car ride with them.
And she does sing too.
It's all of them in the car. It's Dee, Gia, Ruby. Ruby actually shows up right before they're about to leave, and
that's when she gives
Letty the blood from Christina, and she takes the car ride to Arden with them. So it's Montrose. Who was in the front seat? It was
Montrose, Letty, and Tick.
And in the back it was Gia, Ruby,
and Dee.
Yeah. And Hippolyta.
And Hippolyta.
Hippolyta. Yeah. I always keep saying her name wrong. Hippolyta.
Yeah.
And they were all back there, and then they start singing. So this is a big car.
Yeah. Dee starts singing, and then so Hippolyta sings with her, and then like Gia joins, and then everybody Tick starts to sing in a deep voice, and Montrose is just like.
He just joins in too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a funny scene. I actually thought it was, but I was like, it's not gonna last because it's about to get dark.
I know, it was like a happy scene, and then
yeah, it was. So then they're back in Artem, and of course Montrose is throwing down the whole salt thing. Like they always use.
Montrose is actually cracks me up.
He is funny, and then we see Atticus actually take. He eats. He eats the piece that he tore off of
the meat.
Chest.
It looks like steak, but it was totally
And then
not.
he drinks like the blood of Christina. So I'm like,
Montrose goes, chew it and hold your nose. So he's
like, that is so gross.
That was nasty.
But yeah, he he ate that.
That was nasty.
And then he, of course, he needed to do that so that they
I
could
know,
complete the
but
ritual.
I was like, ugh.
And that's to bind Christina. And so anyways, we have what does it jump to after that? So Ruby and Letty are actually in the tower at the house.
But this is when Letty figures
figures out that that's not Ruby, and it's because she actually kind of says something that throws her off, and then Letty, to make sure, she goes, "Hey, I'm glad you agreed to do what I asked at the cemetery." And she doesn't know that didn't happen at the cemetery.
No.
It happened later on. And she goes, "Oh, yeah, you know." And that's when she realizes that's not Ruby.
Yeah, because Ruby was all mad at the cemetery.
Yeah. And then they have this huge fight. And I'm telling you, this fight was crazy because Christina / Ruby was just drilling Letty in her face. I was like, I hope she doesn't lose that baby, because she was
I got scared.
Yeah, I was like, because she was like taking throws to the wall.
Well, especially when she took that last fall.
When she took the last, she pushed her out the window and she like fell. And
I
was, like,
literally sat there.
She just like landed on the ground, and it was like, I was like, okay, I don't know how that baby's gonna survive all that. I was like, what? I was like, no. Yeah, yeah. Because when they get there, they actually get ambushed. Like all of them in the car actually get not because Atticus has already went on to the house to, I guess, complete the ritual or whatever. But Montrose and the rest of them that were there, and not Dee, because Dee was left in the car, but everyone else does get. Where do these town people come from?
There was my other question.
Yeah, like
they just popped out of nowhere.
They get circled by these town people that start fighting them. I'm like, I don't know where those people
I don't know where they came from.
Of course, they all start throwing down. So we see all of them fighting. Eventually, they do get overpowered and they get bought into where the ritual is being taken place. Yeah. Christina's there. She's beat the crap out of Letty, of course. Kicked her out of the window. Letty's still on the ground. And they have captured Tick and strapped him to this table, which is what we see in Gia's dream. And she's performing her ritual where she has to bleed him out, and that's what she does. She cuts his arms open.
That was another.
He's bleeding,
and she's covered in it.
She's finishing her spell, and then we see kind of like, I guess, his life force being sucked out of him and into her, and I guess the spell is starting to work, and
she becomes immortal.
Atticus is dying.
I know.
Yeah, she becomes immortal. Letty does wake back up, and I think it's because earlier, Christina said that Ruby made her promise her that she wouldn't hurt.
Yep.
Letty, and I think, and like I said, is again with her keeping her word.
She keeps her word.
Yeah, it looks like she put the marker cane back on Letty, so Letty's of course okay.
Yep.
And she comes running to where the ritual is taking place, but she doesn't stop it. You know, her and
she knows too.
Yeah, they make eye contact, and basically, they tell each other, "I love you," and he completes the ritual. Then he dies. Yeah, he dies. But then they find out that Atticus did not have Christina's blood in his body, of course. So then that's when Gia realizes that she has to become one, I guess, with this darkness. And the next thing you know, she's going into this like
little funnel.
It's like a funnel of darkness that she goes into. Anyways, she uses her 9 tails to link them. So she actually runs one of those tails through Christina's body, and the other one wraps around Atticus, and that's making the connection to bind Christina. And it works because Christina is no longer immortal, and of course can be killed at this point in time. And
she's done so.
And so Letty's actually chanting the spell
while
Gia is actually holding them into place.
I actually thought Gia was gonna die because the way because it was too powerful for her. So I thought she was gonna die, and I was kind of like, no, not you too.
Yeah. So Letty finishes the chant, and then what we see is that Christina is. Oh, wait a minute! I skipped something else. I keep forgetting this. Dee is actually in the car, and she's reading this comic book. Yeah, because they left her in the woods. They probably didn't think he was gonna. Because if you're in the woods, who's gonna find you in the woods unless they're looking for you?
The shot girl.
Yeah. So she's in the car reading the comic book that her mother gave her, which was also something I skipped because her mother actually tells her that while she was away, she learned how to, I guess, draw. And the person she named, which I cannot remember, is a real. She really does draw comic books.
Yeah, but I can't remember.
I can't remember what her name was, and I meant to write it down. But she really does do comic books. So, anyways, Dee is in the car reading the comic book that her mother provided her with, and this was right this was a little further back in the episode when her mother told her like she will draw again, and then we see her open up this door and we hear mechanics in the back, so we don't really know right away what she did in that room. But anyways, jumping back to where they are in Artem, Dee's in the car reading the comic book, and then she starts to hear noises outside the car, and she's seeing, you know how you see something dark pass real fast but you don't see it, and then that's when we see that one of those Shagroffs, the not Atticus,
not the good Shagroff,
starts to attack the car. And then that's when we see Atticus's Shagroff like come up and start to
get
fight
away
it.
from my girl.
Yeah, he starts to fight it. But then when the reason why we know why that Shagroff is protecting her, we see that during Gia's vision, because Gia starts to see glimpses from all of them, like their past and everything like that, while she has her tail wrapped around Christina and wrapped around Atticus, and she sees that Atticus actually passed that Shagroff on to Dee and showed her how to control it. So that's hers now.
Yep.
Yeah, to protect
And
her.
I think that was Atticus knowing, too, that he wasn't going to make it. So he wanted to pass along what he could.
And then we see into Christina's, what she done, too. We see, like, her catching Dee, trying to steal her blood. So there's a couple of visions she has, that Gia has, while she has her tails wrapped around, both, like, connected to both of them. So, yeah. So that works, and then like I said, Christina loses her power, and then Letty explains to her that the spell she was chanting actually removed magic from all white people. So none of them can use magic anymore, and that's where that is. So the magic has been removed, and we don't really know if Ruby is dead or not, because we do know that they have to be in a coma-like state. So I don't think William or Ruby, and I have a feeling both of them are going to wake up.
And I think they're going to play an important role in season 2. Yeah. Because I think there's a season 2.
I think they're both going to wake up. And of course, in a world where you're dealing with magic, death is never final, because
Tick's going to come back somehow.
Always some spell they can use to bring that person back, you know?
I mean, heck, they're talking to their ancestors from years and years and years ago, so...
Yeah,
I have hope that Tick will come back.
Yeah, I think he will. Like I said, nothing's final in the magic realm. You can always bring somebody back because you have magic.
Yeah.
So we get that she tells her that magic has been removed from all white people, and so they just kind of leave her there on the ground. Like she has like these pillars on top of her and she can't move. And the next thing we see is that Dee walks in, and this is when it's discovered that Dee's mother actually made her a robotic arm to replace
she just takes
her other arm. But I was thinking, like, you didn't want to look through the book of names first
to see if there was
regenerate her regeneration spell in there.
Nope, she just made her a robotic arm.
Gave her a robotic arm that she uses to kill Christina. She chokes her out with that arm.
Yeah. So it was actually Dee that finishes Christina.
Yeah, that finishes Christina off.
And that's kind of where
it ends there with them. You know, they put Atticus's body on a board, and they kind of
carry him out.
And
that's kind of where it ends.
That was it.
So the cliffhanger wasn't really like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? It was kind of just like, oh,
yeah,
alrighty then. I was kind of hoping they would flash forward to maybe Tick's son being born and then leaving the cliffhanger there, or that vision that Gia had when in the episode of Meet Me in Daegu, the pregnant woman that Tick was in bed with.
Well, I don't think they showed her pregnant, did they? But he was with another woman.
Yeah, who was that? Like,
I don't know.
It would have been.
Gia did have a vision of Tick in bed.
Yeah, like I wish they would have.
So I don't know if they'll ever revisit who that woman was, and if she will play an important part in possibly bringing back Atticus. I don't know, because they didn't really tell you who she was, and I don't know if they will, because I can't say there's like moments in the show where they just kind of jump to something else and never go back to something like the cops.
Yeah. What happened to them?
Like what happened to the cops?
They leave some stuff to our imagination.
Not to mention, there's a part in the show too where Dee is actually upset with her mother for leaving her, which makes sense because I can understand why she would be upset. You know, first of all, her arm's all janky now, and
then all this stuff,
and all this
you've
stuff
lost your
happened.
best friend, you've lost your dad,
right? And her mom just like leaves, and then I was thinking to myself, like, you know, it is a little selfish that you did that, because thinking about it, when she said she was on Earth 504 for 200 years, I'm like, okay, so in that reality though, you were away from your daughter for 200 years. I'm like, you didn't miss her, you didn't wonder what was going on, like. I understand when you came back, it was like as if like very little time had passed. Time did pass, but not a whole lot. But to you, it would have seemed like 200 years.
Like that's 200 years you were away from your baby girl. Like,
right. So I was like, in a lot of ways, it is a little selfish.
would be. Yeah.
I would think it was being selfish too. Like, you left to go find yourself. Like, but
right.
you have a kid.
You have a kid that you just left that you came back to. Oh, by the way, she almost died.
Like, I could see if they were like, if she was aware, like, if they were like, okay, we could take, like, you find out you can go to Earth 504. Yeah. And it'll seem like 200 years, but when you get back here, only seconds have been
a couple seconds or a couple minutes.
So the person that you left doesn't even realize you were gone.
Right.
So maybe that would make sense, but
she did know though.
She did know because some time did pass, not a lot compared to where she was,
but enough for her.
But enough for her to be like, you abandoned me. So
well, if you remember too, in the previous episode, she kept saying, "Is my mom dead?" Mm-hmm. So you could tell she's got some anger. And
then when you. Well, I guess you can say she did play a part saving her because she did open up the portal to get them back to 1921. Yeah. But I'm like, but in the end, did you really? But in the end, did she really? Because it still took Atticus and his ancestors to save her.
Right. That's true. I mean, you helped to get the book that saved her, but it was still Atticus that saved her.
Right.
So
and his ancestors, because they're the ones that had to stand around and chant with them. So. Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, that one I was like, yeah.
Sorry, like I was like, sorry, Mama
like,
H.
These right? That was a little selfish.
I was like, you gotta left for 200 years.
You do.
I mean,
left
granted,
for a while.
like you said, it could have just been minutes, seconds, but well, it was more than minutes and it was more than seconds. But still, I'd be mad. I'd be mad if my mom left me.
Yeah, I was like, I can understand her being a little upset about that. But we'll see what season 2
holds,
where they plan to go. Because I don't know. You got the main bad person dead and. The main
characters essentially dead.
Were kind of like
gone. So I mean, yeah, I guess I'm looking forward to season 2 to see where they take it. But
the only thing I can think of them doing, like I said, is if they have William wake up,
which is a possibility,
and he becomes
which is a possibility,
or something.
And then Letty and their son becomes kind of the good. Two good main characters. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope Tick does it. I know that actors got some projects, but we'll see.
Yep.
We'll see. Let us know what you guys thought of episode 10. I've read a couple of other reviews that weren't so fond of it. I was about it too.
There were some others that were better than this one. So.
Oh, I was definitely more excited about the previous other ones. This one I was kind of just like, that's it? You know, where I kept
checking. Not bad. None of the episodes have been bad, so just not...
You're just left
where
with
I thought
like,
it was going to be for the final episode
right.
of season 1. So
I thought it'd be more climactic.
You're right,
but it was not.
I thought it was going to set up
for season 2 and
like leave you like with the
yeah.
But anyway, that's
season 1.
Season 1, Lovecraft Country.
Thanks for joining us every week for recap. So,
yep. Thanks for watching, guys. Yep. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you thought about episode 10, and we'll talk to you later.
Yep, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.